Hello, this is John Thackeray speaking to you from France on behalf of Core77, and together with my fellow jurors, Babitha George from Quicksand in Delhi, Matilda Tam, a professor at Linnaeus University in Sweden, and Jill Wildman, a founder of Plot in London, we've been the jury for the Design for Social Impact category. We all feel that design competitions are about starting conversations, not just about anointing winners, so each of us has made a short video in which we reflect on the questions that we feel merit our conversation moving forward. My 4 questions are at the end of this short piece, but first, the results of our deliberations. Having reviewed and discussed 101 entries, 66 student and 35 professionals, we selected a total of 2 winners, 4 runners-up and 15 notables. That's 21 entries selected from 7 countries. So here, in reverse order, are our results for each category. Please note that we did not always guess where the project came from or who did it. So, in the student category, 11 notable projects. Circulate from the Copenhagen Institute for Interaction Design, a fresh take on energy monitoring and behavior change, in this case, a responsive environment, not just screens. Grief, Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts, a 3D printed hand prosthesis for children with upper limb loss or amniotic hand syndrome. Also notable, Moskin from the Eindhoven University of Technology together with the National University of Singapore. A simple blanket using mosses and plants for the victims of acid and burn attacks. From the School of Visual Arts in New York, Project DAO, a learning platform for the children of low-waged workers who are also time poor. Setting Communities Alight from RMIT in Melbourne, a platform to help citizens be better prepared for bushfires. That was a new one for us. Spin It from the School of Visual Arts in New York, a laundromat booking system. This took me in particular back to the many hours I've spent staring at spilling cylinders. We thought Spin It could also be used in other contexts of sharing facilities such as community toilets. The Story of Shells from Srishti in India. We found this a powerful story of how a Let's Go and Help Poor People Make Nice Souvenirs project was transformed into a quite different approach that took the whole local ecosystem into account. And our finally notable in the student category is Tilt from Purdue University in the US, a playground for early years children in Nepal. What most moved us was the openness to local realities that came across so strongly in the story of this project. This takes us to the 2 runners-up in the student category. Buddy from the University of Technology in Sydney, an interactive therapy toy that facilitates interactions between autistic children and their parents. We were persuaded by the evidence here that real people in a live context had helped quite meaningfully to shape the design. And our second runner-up in the student category, Flood Preparedness Kit from Otis College of Art and Design in Los Angeles. This project too was clearly informed by real-world experience. Its use of readily available materials, tarpaulins and duct tape seemed to be very sensible in a major flood where, to be candid, iPhones probably don't work very well. But our winner in the student category was WeDub from Art Center. This is a locally developed DIY audio mixer and preamplifier that fits in the palm of your hand. It was created in a resource-poor neighborhood in Uganda, and WeDub builds on what is abundant in the community, local skills as well as materials and electronics. Again, the story describes a change of design course that is evident of real openness to its context, which, as you can see, we've been very sensitive to. So congratulations to WeDub as the winner of the student category. On to the professional group, in which we had 4 notable projects we want to mention. BARF for the Behavioral Health System in Baltimore. This is a powerful campaign against underage drinking. and it was genuinely co-designed by the young people it is aimed at, unlike so many of these campaigns to tell other people how to behave better. Second notable project is the upright newborn bag mask. This is an ergonomically designed device for use by midwives and healthcare professionals in other resource-poor contexts to ventilate newborns and babies. This one answers to a real need in a field in which, as far as we can tell, there are not many other innovations out there. Our third professional notable, It's on Us, a cross-platform campaign to end sexual assault commissioned by the White House. We found this to be visually effective, not too complicated, and again were impressed that the campaign has reached 33 million people. And fourthly, Pro Biomeme 1.3 turns the iPhone into a DNA analysis engine that gives scientists, doctors, and enthusiasts the ability to test the genes of any organism and detect pathogens whilst on the move. This takes us to the two runners-up in the professional category. Azili for the American Refugee Committee. IDEO.org developed a sustainable social enterprise that takes a holistic approach in giving young children in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in their words, a shot at seeing 5. This is a comprehensive, well-considered, well-integrated platform. It meets the real and pressing challenge and really answered all the tasks it set itself. Our second runner-up, See What I Mean, a UK-based project to develop a words into pictures tool for use in therapeutic encounters between Alzheimer's sufferers and their carers. We were persuaded by this project. Some of us have first-hand experience. This one meets a need and actually works. But our winner in the professional category of this Design for Social Impact, CycleHack for Glasgow Future Cities. CycleHack brings people together in their city to generate practical solutions to the barriers that otherwise stop or inhibit people from cycling. The platform enables a grassroots approach to innovation. It gives citizens the tools to propose their own proactive DIY solutions. The best thing about CycleHack is that it taps into a huge reservoir of latent social energy. It's already replicated in 35 cities around the world. Bottom line, we can see it making a real difference where a real difference needs to be made. As I said at the top, our jury felt that competitions are about starting conversations and not just appointing these winners, however great they've been. So I'm going to conclude with 4 questions that I will hope will command some attention from all of us going forward. Number 1, the need to benchmark against other solutions that are already out there. Although the best solutions often improve things that are already there, it's not always a bad thing to reinvent the wheel. But if we're going to do so, we have to say why it needs reinventing. Issue number 2 is the relationship between a standalone product and its social context of use. Paul Polak, who's extremely experienced in this field, gives the example of a water pump. The device, in his long experience, is no more than 10% of the story. That's 90%, the context of use, that we also need attending to, and design can improve that bit too. My third issue concerns duration. Did the length of your project do justice to the complexity of the situation? Very unlikely that it did. Having completed your project, are you still in contact with the community? If not, how do you feel about that? I'm not pretending this is an easy subject, but I feel strongly that the length of student project should come second to the length that is proper for the question being considered. And my final question concerns respect, and a question that has long bugged me about the words social impact or changing behaviour. Think of it this way. Under what circumstances would you be pleased if someone that you never met came to make an impact on your social situation or change your behaviour? I'm not saying that it's good or bad, just that we need to think first and design later in more cases than appears to be happening. Anyway, that's for discussion. To conclude, many, many congratulations on some wonderful work addressing difficult and challenging but important questions, and I hope you will carry on to do this kind of stuff in the future. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Matilda Tam, Professor in Design at Linnaeus University in the south of Sweden. This autumn we are launching 2 new degree programs focusing on design for positive change, so I was delighted to be invited to participate in the jury of Core77 Design for Social Impact and to see all the amazing, thought-provoking, life-changing projects that have been entered. Overall, I think the competition evidences really well how the field of design for social impact is maturing. Many projects engage with highly complex issues in very sophisticated ways. There is a good understanding of the absolute necessity of participation of the communities in the projects, such as in the case of the project Asili, which addresses child mortality in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There is a strong message of hope and playfulness coming through many of the projects, and also a more nuanced understanding of the needs of vulnerable communities, such as that of self-expression. Both the professional projects and the student projects address a good diversity of topics and concerns. I was particularly thrilled to see several projects exploring the needs and opportunities of girls and young women. We know that empowering girls and women is an important leverage point in working for overall sustainability, and I believe gender concerns to be one of the core issues in the quest for sustainability onwards. Again, projects such as See What I Mean, the Words into Pictures tool, which innovatively addresses Alzheimer care and taps into the reality of an in many places aging population, are very relevant. My nephew is autistic, and therefore it felt especially warming to see the several projects, such as the customizable toy Buddy, exploring how design can improve the life of kids with autism and that of their carers. I was impressed with the deep empathy coming through many of the projects. I think empathy is a key design skill. Finally, some questions. Design for social impact is extremely complex. We have to engage with systems spanning many types of stakeholders, entangled concerns and issues, facts and emotions, and more. The urgency and magnitude of some challenges, such as child mortality or climate change, may make us feel powerless, even paralyzed. Yet all these projects have taken the important step towards solutions. How can we also be more open about the dilemmas and trade-offs we face when seeking to affect positive change through design? How can we acknowledge that no proposal will be perfect, but is still a valid contribution? Because of the systemic nature of the many challenges we face today, it is imperative that designers also work with, for example, ecologists, economists, politicians, sociologists, psychologists. This is hard, and it's not coming through as a strong narrative in the entries to the competition. So, how can we forge even stronger connections with other disciplines? How can design education help students gain experience and skills in interdisciplinary teamwork? The projects of the competition span the very well-resourced to those made on a shoestring, and the high-tech and sometimes too app and phone dependent to the low-tech, like flood repair, that just use creativity and duct tape. How can we foster satisfaction with and celebration of such maximum thought and minimum intervention projects, both in design education and professional design? Thank you, all designers, students and professionals, for so generously sharing your insights and creativity. Well done everyone, and happy change.
Hi, my name is Babita. I'm a partner at a design and innovation consulting firm called Quicksand, based in India. I was a part of the jury team for the Design for Social Impact category at the Core77 Awards this year. It was an absolute privilege to work with this wonderful team, and I feel like I learned so much in our very rich discussions during the judging process. On the whole, it was exciting and humbling to see a lot of the issues that came up through the awards and the manners in which groups or individuals had attempted to think through them and address them. I would agree with my core jury members on the fact that a lot of the student entries seemed bolder and sometimes even more provocative than some of the professional ones. In the course of going through the projects and evaluating them, there were several things that struck me. It was great to see projects that I thought with some thoughtful application could be relevant in other geographies as well, because the problems that they attempted to address sadly continue to stay real no matter where we live. There were also projects that exemplified the idea that good design does not have to be rocket science. With empathy and a willingness to apply ourselves to the challenge at hand, even everyday low cost materials had found relevant use in tweaked forms. And some of these projects also displayed that this could not have happened without a first hand, lived experience of the issue at hand. There were projects that also stood out not so much for the novelty of the idea, but for the refreshing humility and empathy that the designer had used to articulate their own experiences with the community. One of the most important aspects that struck me was the positivity and hopefulness of many of these projects. Often we tend to look at resource poor communities as just issue ridden with no hope. What we forget to see is the incredible resourcefulness that these communities embody on a daily basis and that I think all designers ought to learn from. A project like VDub, for example, had built on the natural talents and interests within the community and had strived to equip young people with skills that empowered them. It made me very happy to even learn about the existence of such a project. Design often tends to be thought of in terms of products that can solve problems, but the real world is a lot more complex than that. The context of use for these products tend to be less about the actual product itself, but more about the system that this needs to exist in and work with. In issues that attempt to change people's lives for the better, there are no simple answers, and I think that is something we all need to understand deeply and learn from. Congratulations to everyone for the great work and best wishes to the whole community. I hope we continue applying ourselves thoughtfully and with humility and hope to these not so simple challenges around us.
Hi, I'm Jill Wildman and I'm one of the judges for Core77 Design for Social Impact Awards. I'm also co-director here at Plot London. It's been a complete pleasure to work with this judging team and look at the thought-provoking group of work from professionals and students. So there's a range of things that stood out for me, and they're in no particular order. Students were much more provocative in their thinking, which was really exciting to see. I was also really impressed about people being open about their own personal breakthroughs in the process of doing this work. Some of the projects were more subtle and modest in their choice of ideas. So not only let's sort the world out, but also looking at more modest kinds of scope of influence. It was great to see people who were working so well with local contexts and designers who worked with imagination and passion on their own doorsteps as well as in other places. When a designer's attitude is connected to the people and place, the designer has a subtly interesting role of provoking and making tangible ideas, and they bring new ways of approaching things. Sometimes that includes not building on the big heroic option, but staying within a set of constraints that allow people using it to blossom instead and make it theirs. This can be a problem for some designers, but those who did it in this instance were visibly different and are to be celebrated. We saw some projects that seemed unaware of their predecessors, and particularly in the energy conservation inclusion, many didn't even point to or visibly build on what was already there. So that's a point I think to take into account next year, that you actually put your head up and have a look around, see who else is working in this space. Sometimes for us as judges, and me in particular I'm speaking for now, it's difficult to see just how far the idea has gone, so where you are actually up to with it, how much it's a concept and how much it is still yet to be developed. So that really helps if you make that part of your story clear. I have a couple of questions. What should designers be connecting with when they're working outside of their own locations? And then how can they build in some longer term connection, more relationship and less project way of approaching these things? Another question, when you have a great resource of talent and budget, say as an agency can be within this setting, what can you do to amplify your reach as well as deliver some great innovative solution? What other roles can you play? So what I would have liked to have seen more of were things like, how else can you extend this idea? You know, you can put it to this purpose, but are there other places you could take it to? Are there alternative applications of this idea? Also, considering the system that you're designing within, so whatever it is, what does it connect to? And how does that shape the idea then? Because it has to connect to other services or people or resources. And also how things go wrong when you design in these contexts. It's good to hear about the bumps in the road as well as the successes. But that's it from me. Thank you very much, and we hope everyone enjoys the results.